You've got some nerve to stand up to me. I'll show you just how different we are, since you're such a fool. Please, stop. Before I knew it, my mother-in-law, Sandra, was laughing while cutting up my clothes that were really special to me. She then threw them onto the floor. That was a gift from my late mother. Oh my God. My name is Luna, and I'm a 30-year-old housewife. I met my husband, Nick, through some university friends. We first met when my friends and I were out for drinks, and one of them invited him to join us. After that, he asked me out a few times, and we eventually started dating. We got married and were happy together. 2 years later, our son Tim was born. He's 4 years old now. I thought I'd get to enjoy a peaceful life watching my son grow up, but something happened that turned my life into a nightmare. That something was moving in with my in-laws. One day, we suddenly had to live with them. I remembered that my brother-in-law and his wife had moved in with my in-laws a few years ago. But to my shock, I found out they had already divorced, and my brother-in-law was now living alone. Even Nick didn't know about it. Apparently, my in-laws never mentioned it because we never asked. I thought it was strange not to share such important news with family, but since we only saw them during New Year's, maybe they had planned to tell us then. At first, I didn't have a bad impression of Sandra. Whenever I visited, she wasn't exactly friendly, but she never nagged me either. She had a blunt personality, but I actually preferred that over someone who constantly criticized everything. My in-laws also loved my son, so I didn't think living with them would be a big deal. When I agreed, Nick was happy and called his parents right away. Soon, we moved into their home. My father-in-law, Jim, was still working, while Sandra had always been a housewife. I also became a full-time housewife when Tim was born. Since I was still learning, I hoped Sandra would teach me some useful things, especially her recipes. But before I even had those thoughts, I was already being forced to do all the housework, even when I didn't feel like it. The first day living there seemed fine. Both my in-laws welcomed us with smiles. That night, we had a big meal to celebrate. But the very next morning, Sandra's attitude completely changed. "How long are you planning to sleep?" "Oh, I'm sorry. It was only 5:30 a.m., and my head was pounding from all the drinks I had the night before. As a wife, you should wake up before everyone else." What time should I get up?" "Well, I usually wake up around this time, so you should wake up by 5 a.m. at the latest." 5 a.m.? What, do you have a problem with that, being a housewife?" No. I didn't want to cause problems on our first day living together. Besides, waking up early was good for my health, so I figured I'd just get used to it. "Well then, start making lunch for Jim and Nick." "Yes, I understand." I started cooking as usual. "What are you doing?" "Ah." Sandra suddenly slapped my hand hard while I was holding the knife. "You're doing it all wrong." What am I doing wrong?" "Don't expect me to tell you everything, figure it out yourself." "Oh, okay." I held my stinging hand and watched how she cut the ingredients. But honestly, I didn't see any difference between her way and mine. If anything, I thought my cuts were cleaner and faster. But that didn't matter, because from that day on, Sandra's bullying never stopped. Sandra would get angry at me over the smallest things: how I cleaned the house, how I seasoned the food, how I sat, or even the pattern on my socks. Her anger was unpredictable, like a volcano that could erupt at any moment. I was terrified. Every day, I walked on eggshells, trying not to upset her. It was so stressful that I finally told my husband about it. But he completely missed the point. "Mom is just trying to help you, you should be grateful." No matter how much I explained, he wouldn't listen. He thought I was just complaining. At some point, I started to bottle up my feelings. I convinced myself that if I just endured it, things would be fine. If I stayed quiet, the house would stay peaceful. All I had to do was be patient. 3 years passed like this. Sandra kept bullying me, but since I always apologized, she wasn't as harsh as before. But then, something terrible happened. Something I never expected. It happened in the living room when my son, Tim, was with Sandra and me. Tim wanted to watch a cartoon and asked Sandra if he could change the channel. But Sandra refused because she was watching her show. Tim frowned slightly but said, "Okay." Sandra didn't let it go. Hey, Tim, what was that face you just made? Huh? You frowned, didn't you? Then she said something shocking. I am the second highest authority in this house after my husband, Jim. You and your mother are the lowest. You are in the weakest position, so how dare you frown at me? Tim started crying. You're a boy, and you're crying? How pathetic. I'll teach you a lesson. She raised her hand to slap him. Stop, please stop. I pushed Sandra away. You dare lay a hand on Tim? Sandra looked shocked for a moment. Then her face turned red with rage. Do you realize what you've just done? She stormed off. A few moments later, she returned, holding my clothes and a pair of scissors. A terrible feeling washed over me. Sandra, you've got some nerve to challenge me. I'll show you the difference between you and me since you are such an idiot. Please, stop it. Sandra started laughing as she cut up my clothes that meant so much to me. Then she threw them on the floor. Those clothes were a gift from my late mother. Oh my God. I picked them up, tears streaming down my face. Tim ran to me, crying, Mom. He hugged me tightly. I couldn't stay there any longer. At that moment, I finally realized I had to leave. Sandra had controlled my life for years. She made me do all the housework and never let me leave without her permission. But I didn't care anymore. I packed my things, grabbed Tim, and loaded everything into the car. I told Sandra I was going to the supermarket, then drove straight to my parents' house. My dad, Sean, my brother, Jeremy, and his wife, Gwen, all lived there. My mom had passed away 10 years ago, and the clothes Sandra destroyed were the ones she gave me when I got my first job. She died just a month after giving them to me. They were my last connection to her. When my family saw the torn clothes and heard what I had been through, they were furious. Jeremy said, You've suffered enough, let me handle this. My dad was kind and told me to relax and take a bath first. It had been years since I could take a bath first. Afterward, Jeremy and Gwen made dinner for Tim and me. It had been years since someone cooked for me. I couldn't stop crying. That night, I knew I was never going back. I was going to divorce Nick. As I finished dinner, my phone rang. It was Nick. Hey, where are you? I'm at my parents' house. I'm not coming back. I want a divorce. Huh? Divorce? Don't be ridiculous. You have no idea how badly Sandra has treated me. I can't take it anymore. Come on, don't be selfish. Get back here now. She tried to hit Tim, and she destroyed my mother's clothes. What? Are you still going to take her side? Suddenly, I heard Sandra grab the phone. She shouted, Stop filling Nick's head with nonsense. You are not leaving. You are my slave for life. No way. I can't live with someone who destroys my precious things. Huh, your face when I cut up those clothes, it was priceless. Memories of your mother? You're worthless. That's why I was able to destroy them so easily. A new voice interrupted. I heard everything. Thank you for your confession. Huh? Who is this? I'm Luna's brother. This has nothing to do with you, outsider. I'm not an outsider. Luna is my sister. I recorded your words. Huh? I'll be pressing charges for property destruction once the divorce is final. Wait, what? I'll also be reporting this to Nick's company, and Jim's. What? No, please don't do that. Then Nick will divorce Luna immediately, Tim stays with her, and Nick pays child support. No way. If you refuse, I'll make sure the neighbors hear how you tried to abuse my nephew. Okay, just don't do that. Then tell Nick to come here and sign the divorce papers. And just like that, Jeremy forced Nick to agree to the divorce. A few days later, I sat in a cafe with Jeremy, waiting for Nick. He arrived alone, looking awkward and uneasy. Without much hesitation, he signed the divorce papers. Well then, we'll file these, Jeremy said. Nick hesitated. You won't report this to my company, right? I won't report you or Jim's company, Jeremy assured him. Nick let out a relieved sigh and left the cafe. And just like that, the divorce was finalized. Nick also paid the full child support amount up front. That's one step done. Now, let's move on to the real plan, Jeremy said with a smirk. Following his advice, I filed a lawsuit against Sandra for destruction of property and demanded alimony. Then, I personally reported everything to Nick and Jim's workplaces. Their reputations were ruined. Their coworkers now saw them as weak men who stood by while Sandra tormented me. Nick called, furious. "You lied, you said you wouldn't report this." I calmly replied, "No, my brother said he wouldn't report it, but I never said I wouldn't." This had been Jeremy's plan all along. To deal with unreasonable people, you sometimes have to be unreasonable in return. And we didn't stop there. Word spread throughout their neighborhood about Sandra's horrific behavior. She became a social outcast. People whispered whenever she walked by. Mothers clutched their children and steered them away from her. Over time, Sandra became depressed and withdrawn, too ashamed to step outside. It felt good to finally get justice. Meanwhile, I moved back home, found a new job, and embraced my new life as a single mother. At home, Jeremy, Gwen, and my retired father took care of Tim, showering him with love and support. Tim thrived in this warm and happy environment. I couldn't thank Jeremy enough. Someday, when I've saved up enough, I'd love to take my whole family on a well-deserved trip.